It's a great day. My name is Shay Brown, the happy entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the #1 business development and revenue focused late night show in the country where we're on a mission. And our mission is to empower, our mission is to inspire, and our mission really is to provide that's right, that's you, the entrepreneur, with all of the resources that are necessary to execute that huge vision you have for the people you were called to serve. So right now, in this moment, we got the one and only Sherri Leopold on here. What's up, Sherri? How are you? Our repeat guest on the Happy Entrepreneur Show.
Thank you so much, Shay. What an honor to be here. And I'm happy, so I'm in the right place, right?
Thanks a lot. I certainly appreciate that. Now, there's a huge question. And that #1 question always is, why do entrepreneurs struggle with visibility? Like in a time where there's so much technology, there's so much automation, there's more information than ever before during my lifetime. Yet I hear from entrepreneurs, Shay, I'm having a hard time getting visibility. Why is that?
I think it's a great question, Shay. And I think one of the things that comes up is because there is so many things available out there, an entrepreneur sometimes struggles with where do I start first? And I think a big part of that selection process needs to be who you're connecting with and how that relationship can be built out so that it's not a one and done. Like an interview here, for example, you want to really fall in love with the guests you have on your show, for example, as like I do on mine with the Wow Warrior show. I want to fall in love with that guest so that I will be a referral source for them, for other shows, for other magazines. I have a magazine as well. Like I want to be able to say, oh, I love Shay. You need to get to know him. You need to interview him. You need to write about him in your magazine or, put him on the cover, that kind of thing. I think that's the key is connect to yourself with amazing people who can help partner with you to be seen. It's not just the individual spot, so to speak.
Now, I don't want to stir the pot, but I love what you just said. You mentioned magazine and you mentioned the show. So being in a magazine means different things, to different people these days as an entrepreneur. Take a moment and kind of dissect it a little bit because you can't leave us on the edge. Some people say, well, is it a magazine? Do I do printed? Do I do digital? Do I do this combination? So if you can, we'll slow down, then speed up. Break down what it means really to be in a magazine. I don't know what a magazine even means anymore. And then why it's still or more relevant today from your view of the world than ever before in history.
Sure. Thanks. It's an awesome question. And I actually, when I was thinking about how can I help people go farther faster, because that's sort of my theme that I use, I wanted to be able to help entrepreneurs stand up and stand out as that unrepeatable miracle that they are. But you've got to be able to be seen. And one of the things that the Wow Warrior magazine, the reason it was developed was to really showcase people who have an expertise or they're so awesome. They might have a great product, service, whatever, but they just can't quite get the foot in the door and be seen. It isn't that the product or service they offer isn't amazing. It's just that people don't always know about it. So when I'm offering that spot in a magazine, whether I'm interviewing somebody or whether they're submitting an article related to their expertise, I want them to use those clickable links. I want them to embed videos that say, hi, I'm Shay Brown, the happy entrepreneur. Like I want those connection points so that when the reader is reading that article that they submitted or looking at the interview, they know who you are. They're connected emotionally to the entrepreneur and who they are. And I think that's why I really love the digital, Shay. You mentioned both. That's why I like the digital because they can really touch with you, the person, not just the entrepreneur, but the person.
What do you say to the person that says, but I'm not a writer? So do I have to now go find a writer to get into this magazine? Talk to that entrepreneur, because sometimes we have two type of individuals, by the way. So we have some folks that are seasoned professionals, right? So they hunt for these opportunities, and we're going to get into the Wow Warrior and who they target and so forth. And then we have another group of folks who are like dualpreneurs. They work a full-time job and they're full-time entrepreneurs. Shout out to all the dualpreneurs. Let's call them out 9-to-5 millionaires. I know that's it. I know it's going to happen. And they're like, writing is not my gig, but I like the idea. I like the concept. Talk to that group of folks right now.
I think in today's AI world, I suppose you could use that as an AI partner. You know what your expertise is and what your lane of genius is. You could slide into that and use that as a partner, or you can, I mean, there's plenty of ghostwriters. I mean, I have people like in my network that will help you articulate your ideas. I've done that with even people that have written, they've sent me like, here's a rough draft. Can you give me some ideas? And we've gone back and forth. My ultimate goal, if your article is appearing in Wow Warrior magazine, I want you to shine, right? Like the star you are. And so I want to do that with my writers. You know, I think everybody's at a different place in their business. And I don't want someone's expertise, if you will, in writing to detract from their expertise in succeeding in their business. So I think you just step into that role wherever you are, knowing that you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. And if your writing needs a little finesse, that's easy in the editing process. It's really your genius that shines through in your article. And also I offer the option to be interviewed, if because sometimes then they don't have to worry about writing. I can just ask the leading questions so they can share what they're good at, and sometimes that's a better option for that person.
Take a moment to talk a little about the distribution. Folks are tuning in with this ear, and don't worry, I haven't forgotten to ask about the show and difference between the magazine and the show. But for those folks that are leaning in saying, I like this whole Wow Warrior magazine, what's the distribution and what's the target audience? Or said more clearly for you, what's the marketing strategy behind it so that it gets in front of the right eyeballs?
Sure, right. So I would say that the majority of people are professional men and women. But, you know, I have that certain section of my Wow Warriors, which is really woman of worth or warrior of worth, depending on how you fall into that category. And so, you know, we're looking at providing value. And so we do have the everyday person that is reading this magazine as well. That's why some of we have regular columnists. Some of them are writing about business. Some are writing about mindful stuff, meditation, spirituality. I mean, there's a lot of different types of avenues inside the contents of the magazine, which is sort of a place for everybody. But I think that it's for the average person who wants to just stand up and stand out and be the best version of themselves. And every one of the issues is chock full of nuggets for you to really shine as that unrepeatable miracle that you are.
There's some people that are listening right now. There's some people that are watching right now, and they're wondering, listening. Shay, she's talking about the magazine. Before you get in the show, who is this Sherri? What's the origin story that led her down the path that she's on now? And where does this passion come from? Like where is this like passion inside her? Like, I just want to help everybody. So the question, what's the backstory that led you to doing what you're doing now?
Well, it's actually a long one, but I'll shorten it by saying I grew up in a home with domestic violence, Shay, and it wasn't directed at me. It was directed at my mom. But my mom was still one of the strongest people I'd ever known. And so it was as I grew up, I think there was a little bit of a confusion for me to have see somebody so strong in some aspects of her life, but yet not be able to stand up for herself in that. And what I learned as I got older and through a lot of personal development on my own was that she didn't see herself as worthy of deserving more in that particular area. It's why she could run circles around somebody waiting tables. She would always make the most money, always, because she knew people skills. But in that sector of her life, she just couldn't stand up for herself. And it took her 17 years to finally do it and say no more. And that was the end of it. And she never looked back. And I'm like, it really became for me about choices. One of my favorite sayings is choices create change. When you change your choices change.
Hmm. Choice choices create change.
When you
That's
change
powerful.
your choices change, because at that moment, and you hear people say, it's my biggest pet peeve, by the way, I don't have a
Mhm.
choice. I'm like, listen, you got a choice, you got 1,000 choices, you got a million choices. You're going to make one, and even if it's the wrong one, you get to make 1,000 more. We get ourselves so hung up on indecision. I don't know what to do. Should I be on Sherry's show? Should I do this? Should I do that? Listen, the point is there are no bad decisions. Like the thing is, they're all just learning steps, right? And the thing is, when I like to liken it as when you can either choose to have action or inaction. Both of them are an action. The difference is that when you have action and you make a step forward, you get to keep making choices, right? But when you don't do anything and that is an action, you have to wait for a reaction. That's your only option, is to react. You no longer are in the power driver seat. You give it up by not doing anything, right? So, if I could say anything to anyone watching and any entrepreneur, and it's probably the main thing that will create the most happiness for you, is literally stay in the action lane. It's the fast lane, but it's also the fun lane. Stay in action because action's a choice. It's a forward moving choice. Regardless if it's perfect choice, it's the choice to make.
What do you say to the person out there? And that was so well said. That says, okay, I like the action. I like the change. That sounds good. But Shay, I've been struggling with consistency. Now, don't worry, we're going to get into a talk show, but I've been struggling with consistency. And you may have heard this before. Consistency is the key. Consistency is the key. Consistency is the key. And having said that, what do most people struggle with? So take a moment, if you can, to talk about what do you share to your clients? They say, I want to make the change, but I find myself backslipping. What do you share with them in order for them to be consistent?
I think part of it is we try to do too many things at one time to be consistent. So we say, I got to do this and this and this and this. And we laundry list so many things that feels very overwhelming. And therefore, we aren't consistent with anything. I think we need to take one step, do one thing, become consistent and proficient at one thing. When you feel like you have that mastered, you can add another step. It's that too many people are trying to run up the entire staircase instead of taking a step at a time. It will build upon itself and you will find yourself at the top one step at a time. But when you try to leapfrog 3 steps at a time, you're likely to trip or fall back down the stairs and be in the same place where you were when you started. And that is super frustrating. And that just leads to quitting because you're like, I'm not good at this, right? And the thing is, it's not that you're not good at it, it's that you need to take a little bit smaller step so that you feel accomplished when you master that step. You can take the next one.
What I admire about you, and this is probably a good transition, is I will say, in my opinion, and I don't know everything, but most speakers aren't writers, and most writers aren't speakers. But yet, y'all are here with the one and only Sherri, by the way, who happens to be able to do both, do them really, really well, and even has a show which requires her to speak. So she can speak and she can write. So now let's move over and say, whoa, do I have to make a choice? Do I have to just do the magazine? What if I decide I want to be on the other side, and I know you have a show, and allow someone to not only promote their brand, but to share their message? So talk about the power of, I'm not going to say being on interviews, but being part of shows like yours that allows them to extend their brands. So two-part question. Number one, tell them the name of your show and the mission of the show, and then why it's important to entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. So the show is also called Wow Warriors, and the mission is to help you stand up and stand out as that unrepeatable miracle, but also to help you go farther faster. It is to get your message, your brand, your marketing, whatever, who you are, out to the masses. It is to showcase and highlight your genius. The whole interview, when I do an interview, is all about how can I serve you so that you are able to serve other people. Like that's the thrust of the show, is what do you want somebody to know when that end credit rolls? What do you want them to have learned about you or know for sure about you and want to connect with you, which whatever your special talent is, you want them to be able to articulate, wow, Sherri is blank and I want to connect with her because.
You
That
know,
makes sense.
if you can, what you just did, take a moment if you can. And I love how you're able to break the two up, which is very important. And you guys are very fortunate. First, tell them how they can best connect with you. So that's number one. And then tell them about a mentor that you learned from that's helped you on your journey. And I know you had a lot of mentors, but if you mentor in the entrepreneur space, a lesson you learn from them that you can pass on to the audience. So two parts. One, how can they best connect with you? And then from your mentor, what's a lesson you've learned? And I want y'all to listen pretty closely because here's someone who does mentoring, but she also has a mentor as well. And I think that's pretty cool.
100%. So I think the first part of that is, gosh, I got mixed up because I'm thinking about the mentor part. I'm going to do that first. Sorry. Oh, you can connect with me at sherrileopold.com. Sorry. SherriLeopold. You can connect with me there on multiple levels. You can hear about the show and the magazine and things, and you can make an appointment to talk with me there. So that's the best way, or any social media. My inbox is open, so that's just the way I am. But that leads, I know you're like, don't do that, Sherri, but that actually leads to the mentor question. And I've always had a mentor. And actually, I've been working with someone, Dr. Tylisha Johnson, for multiple years, actually many years. And so she has been a great mentor to me. And one of the things that she has really taught me is just to really expand my mind for what I can create. Because I think we get these ideas and we get really focused in on this little piece. And she has just helped me expand my vision for what is possible and what I can create. And the only limits that will ever be placed on me are the ones I set on myself. And so that's really, I think I just like to say thank you to Dr. Ty for that, for really pushing me to soar beyond the limits.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things I admire about you as well, thanks for that. Shout out. Nothing wrong with a shout out. And you need to acknowledge folks and understand that success is a team sport. You can only get so
Yes.
far by yourself. And as they're listening right now, we reached that moment, Sherri, where folks are like, oh, she got everything going on, Shay. It's probably her life's probably been perfect, Shay. Has there been a time, Shay, that in her business career that something didn't go right? Like, was she on air and something didn't go right? Did she write something that didn't go right? So tell about a time that maybe in your business there was a challenge, maybe there was a setback, and you had to bounce back from that. And the reason I want you all to listen in there is that, right now it might seem like she has the perfect life, but she does. She tell me she has 3 grandchildren. How cool is that, by the way? She had a big smile coming on saying, I just finished with my grandchild. Like, oh my gosh. I'm interviewing her at the perfect time. She's in a warm, fuzzy, loving place right now. So here's the question. What was the time that something just didn't go right for you, maybe in business or life, and you had to bounce back? And what's the lesson that we all can learn?
Sure. So it's interesting that, I've been in network marketing also for almost 26 years. And actually, the thing that really rose up when you asked me that question was, when you're building a team and somebody on your own team won't work with you, or they don't quote unquote like you, and they make it very clear. That was a very difficult time for me to navigate through, because I am like the person who just wants, to everybody to be happy and, comfortable and stuff. And it took, I'm just going to be very transparent and say it took me 2 years of personal development to get through
Wow.
that hard spot of understanding that somebody not liking me is completely okay as long as I can still love myself. It's never about making everyone love you. The most important thing you'll ever do, Shay, is to love yourself. And when you love yourself, the people who are meant to love you will find you, and they will love you exactly as you are, and they will meet you there. They won't require you to be something else. And that's when you level up your network. And that's what I've done. And I'm grateful, so grateful for that person, because my life is better and changed because they were not nice to me.
Thanks so much for sharing. Thanks for being transparent and understand that there are human beings in the world and everybody's not for everybody, right? And that's kind of cool. Thanks for sharing. We have a segment here, Sherri, called Today is My January 1st. And I know you've been down this road. You're a repeat guest. Thank you so much again for being back. And today is my January 1st. For those folks that are family, you can go ahead and say it. I know you might have waited all day to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and say, today is my January 1st. And that's a personal mantra we have here at the Happy Entrepreneur Show for all my new folks that are just tuning in for the very first time. Welcome, by the way. But today is my January 1st, represents a fresh start. It represents a do-over. It means your past no longer equals your future, and you don't have to wait till December 31st at 11:59 p.m. on the back of a napkin to say, today is my January 1st. You can, in that moment, make a decision, as you said earlier, Sherri, change, and you can move forward. My question to Sherri, obviously, is when you hear those words, today is my January 1st, what does it mean? And what message would you have to empower, inspire folks that got to keep on going?
I love that saying from the very first time that I heard it, and I think it's because it puts you in that action seat that I referred to earlier, right? I always say I'm the boss applesauce. I'm the boss of me, and you're the boss of you. It puts you in that driver's seat to really create the life you love, and you get to love the life you live, right? Like that's our ultimate goal. But you get to be the driver, and every single day is that opportunity to start the day as a new day. And one of my friends in one of the collaborative books that I wrote said, today is a new day. It doesn't have any mistakes in it. Like it doesn't really matter what you did yesterday. What matters is what you're going to do today. And that's what I would leave with people. Like we are facing forward, going down the success highway. You will only use your rear view mirror as a guide to say you're not going that direction. It's why it's small and the windshield is big, because we're going forward. Face forward, stay in action, and stick to your goals. And as you said, consistently one step at a time towards what you're driving at.
I love it. I love it. Today indeed is your January 1st. Happy New Year. I know that's crazy, but it's so true. Every day is a January 1st, so it's a new year. Sherri, first, let me say thanks so much for being on the Happy Entrepreneur Show. You're amazing. You're incredible. You're awesome. Take a moment, if you would, to answer two questions. Number one, what type of clients do you work with today? If you're working with any clients, by the way. And number two, how can they best connect with you? Because there's the magazine and there's the show. So two-part question. What type of clients? And how can they best connect with you?
So the type of clients that I work with are typically entrepreneurs who are looking for a little more exposure or who want to build out a little bit bigger than what they have. I love doing like business strategy sessions. And I like doing them one-off. So like I'm not looking for, year-long coaching clients. I like to have a let me do the emoji explode your head session with people. And it's just a one-time thing where I just throw ideas that, I'm very intuitive. So I will share with you what drops in for me that is meant for you. So that's one of the things I love to do most. You can connect with me on any of those things at sherrileopold.com. They're all available there. Just connect with me on there or drop me a message in any social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I'm on all of them. Just say, I want to connect with you. And that is actually where my joy center is. I love connections with people.
I'm gonna recommend you all go connect with Sherri. Do it now and do both. If you're an entrepreneur that's just getting started, connect with Sherri. I would be part of the Wow Factor, right? The Wow Warrior magazine. I keep saying Factor. Wow Warrior magazine, and also get on the show. I mean, I'm gonna suggest to you now, and I'm not saying that's because she's on the other side. She has a heart to give and a heart to serve. And not only will she put you in the best light, but she also has a distribution. So you want to take advantage of that. Sherri, let me first say thanks a lot for being on the Happy Entrepreneur Show. I appreciate you. I know you can always make more money, but you can't make more time. So you've given us the most precious resource you have is your time. So thank you so much. For those folks that are watching, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here. I want you to know that you really are amazing because, well, today is your January 1st. And I believe for you as you're watching right now that your best is yet to come. Your best is still yet to come. Your best is yet to come. With that being said, my name, by the way, is Shay Brown, the happy entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. And I promise you from the bottom of my heart, we'll make some good things happen. We connect again next time. Remember this, time is long, life is short. You got to live in the moment and you got to make it count. God bless and we wish you success. Thanks a lot, Sherri. Peace, everyone. We're out. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.